Interior plants are good for us. Plants release oxygen. NASA released studies showing how plants clean the air of nasty toxins. With our busy schedule, terrariums allow us to grow plants that love humidity in our homes. And we get a sense of well-being and improved life when we surround ourselves with beautiful flowers and plants. So let's get started. We know that plants love a greenhouse-like environment. For example, let's take a look at our little greenhouse environment. It's great because we can open and close this. That's the original concept of a terrarium, which was the garden cloche. We were able to put a glass dome down over the top of a flower or a plant to help give it more humidity. When all the condensation formed on the inside of the cloche, we were able to take it off and let that air out. So this is the original terrarium, very popular in Victorian times. The other thing we can look at too is an apothecary jar. In this case, we're able to take the lid off and put the lid back on when humidity forms inside. Now this is an updated version of what a terrarium might be like too. We've used decorative stones as the drainage underneath the plants. And drainage is probably one of the most important factors we'll deal with in creating our terrarium. For example, our little greenhouse. We're able to water our plants and put them down on the stones inside. That gives drainage for the plants themselves. Soggy roots are one of the most detrimental factors to plants, and we'll have to remember that when we're creating our terrarium today. In this case, you'll notice here I used decorative stones and just placed my plant inside. That's an updated way for us to think about the terrarium as well. For today's project, we're going to use the bias container from Accent Décor. And we'll incorporate our little plants from inside our greenhouse. Miniature plants work best inside a terrarium. So it's important when we're working with them that we have plants that have a small root ball. We're also looking for plants that have a very healthy root system. Looking for white roots is very important. That's what a wonderful, healthy root looks like. If we have roots that are black and soggy or mushy, that's not a healthy plant. The drainage is going to be an important part of how we create this. So today, our trick of the week is going to incorporate the decorative stones that come from Hoya Plant. We've got all sorts of colors. This is a wonderful lime green, the same one that I used in our apothecary jar. We've also got a hot pink that goes really well with our pink variegated Fittonia. I'm going to use that in the bottom of my terrarium as the drainage and also make it decorative to add color through the glass that we'll see. Pouring one bag of stones into the bottom of the container is going to be sufficient drainage to help pull the moisture away from the bottom of the plants themselves. Our next step is to add a little bit of soil over the top of the stones. This is a regular potting mixture. I just purchased a bag of it so that I can use it as a basis for my plants. Because our container is a little bit taller in back, we're going to make 2 levels. By the time we've added our extra soil, we'll have a nice surface area inside here. So make sure you don't add too much soil to start with. But look how great this looks to be able to see that pink across the bottom of the container as well. It adds great color to our entire project. Since our fern needs a little bit more moisture and the area that we're working with is a little more open, I'm going to tuck the fern into the back of the arrangement. You'll also notice that I just break away a little bit of the extra soil so that I can loosen up those roots just a little bit. And then I take my hand and tuck it down into the soil, making sure that my soil goes all the way around the plant itself. Another important factor is the fact that we can control how big our plants can be. I could do a little selective pruning to remove a couple of the bigger branches. What we're actually doing when we do that is creating almost a bonsai type of plant. In this case, if we wanted to keep this plant very small, we can simply trim off some of the longer shoots to keep it smaller. What that actually does is stunts the plant back a little bit more and makes it grow more vigorously. Just go in and clip right above some of the leaf breaks. And the plant will send off another shoot there and make itself a little bit more bushy. Take it out again. We're just going to peel off a little bit of that soil, loosen those roots a little bit. Since this is a creeping fig, I'm going to use it towards the front so that it might actually grow over and spill out over the side. I'm going to want a little bit more soil in this area right up here, so I'm going to add a little bit more. That helps to raise the level of the soil in the back of our terrarium. Again, we'll create a hole in the back. And fill in around to make sure that we press it down securely into the soil. Now, notice that these are peeking out a little bit. I think that's a pretty fun way to have this be a little bit more interactive. We're also thinking about the elements and principles of design as we create a terrarium, the same way we would as if we were creating a floral arrangement. The focal area of this is going to be my wonderful, vibrant pink Photonia. Getting rid of a little of that extra soil and adding it into the rest of the terrarium. Incorporating the soils together is great because it makes all of the plants grow better all together in their new environment. Got a few of those white roots still exposed up here. So I need to make sure I get a little more soil in there. I loved this little plant. Notice how the one green leaf is accentuating all those white leaves. It's important to note, because of the way that plants operate, this one leaf is providing all the chlorophyll for the rest of the plant because there's no green quality at all. So that's a really fun specimen to to have down here in the front of our terrarium. This little guy is called a Hoya plant. It's one of my sister's favorites. And I wanted to use it in the terrarium today because my sister was the one who taught me how to make terrariums. She still makes them back in her greenhouse in Fremont, Nebraska. And customers come from all over to see how wonderful they are. She has little detailed scenes that go on inside. And that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to add a little stone path through the middle. I've broken up a clay pot. We're going to make a little stairway actually through the center of the design. By taking the wider edges and placing them on top of one another, we're able to create a little pathway. It's my favorite part about creating a terrarium. It's like its whole little biosphere, its own little environment down inside there. It's kind of fun to have that little path running through the center. You can imagine yourself being a little tiny person that would walk around inside there. I'm going to use a few more of the decorative stones now to add a little bit more color inside here. This chartreuse green is going to look great against that hot pink Photonia. The great thing about the decorative stones from Koei Pick is the fact that they're non-toxic. All of the paints are natural. None of them contain any bad things. And they're all created right here from quartz and aggregates in New England, right in the United States. Another product that they make are designer stones that are actually pieces of shells that have been ground up and dyed decorative colors. We'll use a little bit of that right at the base of our stairway. Just to add a little more interest, I'll use this quartz type stone on the back side. It's looking really good. And it's time for our final step, to add water. Always look for watering cans that have a little sprinkler end. It's great because it diffuses the water and doesn't add a lot of pressure. We're watering each plant individually, making sure that we're not putting a whole lot of water on any one area. You can go back and clean up everything with a paper towel. The bias bowl from Accent Décor makes it really easy to get inside. Use just a little more water to rinse away the dirt by my decorative stones. Terrariums are being reinvented right now. It's a classic, therapeutic form of interior design for us. It's an enclosed space that gives more moisture and humidity factor to our plants. It's a fun, interactive way for us to use color and living plants in our interior. This week, we reintroduced you to terrariums, a fun way for us to create our own biosphere for our own home. Caring for plants is interactive, and taking care of plants and making them healthy is therapeutic for everyone. I'm glad I was able to share information for you about drainage, about how to create good root systems, and how to create a fun project like this. This week, I'd like to thank the great people at Hoya for the decorative accents inside our terrarium, and to Margaret Hofflin and the creative designers at Accent Décor for a wonderful bias bowl for our terrarium project. Until next week, keep having fun with flowers.